Now, speaking of posters and stuff like that, this past week, some people are saying it really wasn't worth it. Other people are saying yes, it was. It was certainly worth it. The virtual Comic-Con at home, and I don't know if we go way back. We go back way back with Amanda, who's holding up.
Amanda was like, "I'm in the front row."
Yes, I was in line on Tuesday. I had all the signs around the house. I will send
Did you
you
set
guys.
up a tent? Did you set up a tent?
You know what? I didn't. That's the only thing I didn't have.
Oh,
But I made my paint stick sign. I got my badges ready. I had all signs are all around the house. So I'll send you video clips and stuff you can throw up on the site. But
The Comic-Con has gone from being a thing where it was, and we talked about this years ago with you, has been a thing where it went from being comic books to movies, television, role-playing games and all that. And I mean, it kind of, to me, it seemed like the main reason people were checking out Comic-Con at home that weren't able to make it to San Diego and they could watch this stuff for free, which is kind of cool, is because of the movies. I mean, Bill and Ted, a panel with them talking about Face and Music. Although I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot because they put out the announcement before they were going to do their big appearance, saying, "Hey, yeah, it's going to be on video on demand on September 1st."
Yeah,
which is kind of drag. What did you think?
I don't know. I mean, it was kind of cool because it was like you were at home, right? But then it's like you miss the people, like, because when you go to Comic-Con, there's like different people, different areas, different, like, you go to the 501st Legion booth, you go to the Mandalorian booth, you get to see all these people. You're waiting in line for a panel or something, or to go into some experience, and you see people like Grant Imahara, you see people like Carrie Byron, you see people like, I am sorry to bring it up, but like, I was literally standing in line and he reached out to shake my hand. Like, that was an experience. That was the last time that I went to Comic-Con.
When I was living in San Diego, when I was working for, the local TV station there, KSWB, which is the Fox affiliate, it was interesting during the time of Comic-Con. It was crazy to be an engineer on staff, and my door to my office was right next to the green room.
Oh, wow.
And during the week of Comic-Con, it would not be unheard of to see Klingons, followed by fairies, followed by Spider-Man, followed by Iron Man, followed by Superman, and then the one and only, in reality, Stan Lee walking by my office door. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, there was just so many characters that would come to the station to promote Comic-Con. And I was very fortunate to be able to have a photo with Stan Lee. And actually, that's one of the photos in my background. It's an autographed photo of Stan Lee that he signed himself right there.
That is pretty cool.
Right there. I would never make it as a weatherman. I can't do the whole but yeah, so Stan Lee, I got to meet him in person, and I actually printed off that photo on a color printer at work because I knew he was there. So I was like, oh my gosh, I had to find a headshot. I printed it off on a color printer. I took it to him. I said, Mr. Lee, can I get a photo with you, and can I have you autograph this? And he's like, of course. And he took a photo, and of course he said his famous tagline, Excelsior.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's so cool.
And that was so awesome. But I mean, to see all these different characters walking by. I mean, I remember one day seeing Smurfs followed by Family Guy characters.
Pac-Man.
And I'm like, wait, was that guy there? There's a guy.
McFarlane?
Tron guy.
He's a really big guy, and he looks just like, honestly,
Peter Green.
He looks like Peter Green, and he even talks like him.
Yeah. No, that was later. That was after I had already left that station when he became famous.
And that guy still does stuff on the web.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Amanda, who would you say is the most, like, the biggest person you met at Comic-Con?
Oh my gosh.
Mark
Hamill.
Mark Hamill. Come on.
I mean, I walked up, but I will tell you now, I'm going to take it back to 1996, way back to Comic-Con. I mean, not that far, but
Comic-Con?
Yes, San Diego Comic-Con. So when we went to there, I think it was 96, 97, and it was ready for like Spawn. The movie was coming out. It was a big deal, right? My husband's huge into Spawn, and like he got me into Spawn. My favorite character of all is Chapel. Well, he's a guy in the comic books. So there was actually a guy dressed like Chapel. So I've got a picture with him. And then we literally walked up to the Image booth and we're like, you are, you know, like you're Spawn, like you made this, like you did Spider-Man, like you did, like you're Todd McFarlane, like you're standing here talking and having a conversation with me. That's the part that I missed of Comic-Con this year. Yeah. Because you couldn't have those conversations. And then online on like YouTube platform, there wasn't a lot of interaction because they were just releasing the content. But on Twitch, a lot of the podcasters had like special channels, or they had a panel, or they had something on. So it was cool. You can go in and interact with people. So that kind of brought it back home.
I just think it's cool. I think it's cool though that the younger generation, and Amanda, I'm considering you in this as well, because I mean I got an older daughter that's almost your age, so your generation all the way down to the teens now, like you just said, way back in '96. That's when E3 and Comic-Con were sort of like these two. We all knew that they were heading in the same direction, but they've been able to stay apart but still merge. And that's the part that for me, because I remember, I mean, Andy, you remember I was in Atlanta at that time, and I'd moved to Atlanta, and you were like, hey, we can't get out there. Can you go over to the show? And I'm like, of course.
That's right. You did, didn't you?
Yes. I was just too dumb to write anything about what I did, and I tried to record it. But anyway, long story short, y'all listen to me long enough. I can't speak. But I mean, I just think it's great that the younger generation gets to engage, like you said, no matter how, they're still able to engage with the gaming, the comics, the TV, I mean, it's all merging. The media is merging, the entertainment is merging, and it's just cool to see as an old man that stuff, because that was us. That's what we have. That our generation started that.
Two things that I want to mention, but one of them is, I've been to the San Diego Comic-Con a couple different times when I was living there. And the thing that was actually sad to me to see was that obviously the origin of Comic-Con was comics.
Yeah.
And the way that the Comic-Con has become so much more Hollywood and video games, that the actual comic artists were pushed off to the very back corner of the convention hall. Yeah. And it was this small little corner that nobody would go visit. Everybody wanted to go see the latest Spider-Man movie or
all that stuff. Yeah.
Or the latest like video game, whatever it might be at that time, Uncharted or whatever it was. Nobody wanted to go see the actual comic artists. And that I made it a point to go visit those comic artists because they're the true heroes of this whole thing.
Yeah, but that's sort of like what I was trying to say, right? Is that now those kids that didn't spend the time or the history or learn about it, think about it. Stan Lee didn't get his recognition until the last 20 years of his life.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing too is this whole iteration of Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, I started collecting it from issue 1, which was from I think 2018, maybe 2017 when it came out. I have not missed a single issue, and this happens to be the iteration of Spider-Man that Stan Lee dies.
Yeah.
Oh,
in real life.
Oh, wow.
So I have the 2 issues they dedicated. I during break, if we come back from break, I'll pull them out. We'll put them on the video podcast. I'll show you. I've got the 2 issues, mint condition, that are dedicated to Stan Lee. But the fact is to have this entire collection, and I've talked to the comic book store. Again, Mile High Comics in Denver, Colorado is one of the largest comic distributors in the world.
Wow.
And they happen to be 2 miles away from me. And so I talk to their owner a lot, and I go in there and I look at comics, and he's been so gracious, because I was always afraid of getting into comics because I'm like, where do I start? And this guy was so helpful. He's like, no, man, don't worry about where to start. Just get into the story and then figure it out. But I happen to be lucky enough to get the first issue of Spider-Man for this iteration. Anyway, he saves 1 issue every 2 weeks for me. Every 2 weeks, he saves an issue, mint condition. I come and pick it up from him. And to have this entire iteration of Spider-Man, it's going to be worth some money someday. And I'm not trying to get into it for the money. I'm not trying to say I'm in it for the money.
You just admitted that on national radio you got a hookup. What are you doing? Well, you got to cut that out. Mark that.
I
got a hookup.
But
I'm starting to get my kid. He's only 3.5 years old. I've been starting to get my kid reading. And now, obviously, I sit with him and I read them with him because he's going to rip the pages if I don't watch them. But I'll sit with him and read these Spider-Man comics because I want him to understand comics, and I never got that experience when I was a kid.
Your
Do-
child is way
you know-
more advanced than I was at that age, so I just want to tell you that right now. You're sure
We were
you're
playing,
reading
we were
him and he's
playing
not reading
Mario
me?
Brothers and Donkey Kong back then, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to mention real quick too is a total random encounter. I was in Chicago, Illinois. I was at the Tribune Tower working, and I came down to go out and have a smoke when I was my smoking days, and I came back in, and sure enough, right at the elevator was Bruce Campbell,
Oh, I like him.
and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, it's Bruce Campbell, like, and I was like, can I get a picture with you? And he's like, give me your phone. I was like, okay. And I handed him my phone, and he comes back and he does a selfie, and he take a quick selfie with me and him. And Amanda, you've seen
I
the picture.
remember the picture because
Yeah.
I commented on it. Yeah.
He takes the picture, and then he hands me my phone back, and he goes, boomstick. And I literally lost it. My knees got weak. I was like, oh god, it was Bruce Campbell, but he was there, and it was so cool to like just randomly run into him. And I get it. You run into a lot of people at Comic-Con.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
run into somebody in the wild like that, it was like, oh my god, that was so awesome.